guys, welcome to this week's vlog. Everyone's really busy here at Icarus Falkery. I'm really busy with Raptor Exotics visiting schools. What a team here, Jackie and I. You've got the brilliant staff, the girls that will work with you flying birds of prey wild and free. We've got a fantastic team of gardeners that just give up their time to turn this place into a wildlife haven over 2023. Lots of work gone on for sure. In here now, the outdoor enclosures for our British and some European reptiles, that's built in here. I just need to get it on the ground. Loads going on this week. Apologies the vlog's actually late. Lots to see. Enjoy the rest of this week's vlog. So really and truly, it's got to be fair to say, the video on this channel that's had no views whatsoever, well 29 or something, was about this tank being set up and the algae eaters I had to get to clean it up. But that's for that video. You can watch that story. In our house, as we gradually, this house, we had it nearly a couple of years now. We bought it as a shed. Those that follow the vlog will know. And we're gradually working our way around and doing room by room. And sometimes in a room, you get sort of dark corners. A little living light, a little aquarium, really, really is a wonderful way to brighten up a dark corner in your room. And to be honest, you'll be spending a lot of time looking at it. So we tried something new. Over a year ago now, not the Christmas just gone, the one before, Jackie brought me a large bottle to make a bottle garden. I've also said, I fancy making something, you know, like a sort of a giant bottle garden. And it's sat there empty for a year. I've just started. I'll show you the step by step as what I've done so far. Lots more to do once those plants grow up and mature. Because you know me, I love my plants. It's not just going to have plants in, is it? There's got to be some point of interest, a focal point, some kind of animal. I know what it's going to be, but you guys are going to have to wait and watch this space for a future vlog. Enjoy the rest of the video.
What's that then? Mummy, who's making all that noise? Is it Wurzel?
She's not impressed with you, Wurs. We've just dropped the barn owl boxes off to Steve the gamekeeper. Lots of wildlife and conservation goes on here. In fact, Steve is the key player here. Gamekeepers of today, certainly not what you're led to believe. We've got barn owls on site, but it doesn't hurt to have more places for them, not only to nest in, but of course for winter places to roost and hide away in the day.
We've come to clean out Roxy Foxy, haven't we, Lily? Are you watching Roxy? Yeah. She's funny, isn't she? Yeah. I'll do the poop scooping, you just sit there and watch. Good girl. You helping Grandma clean out the polecats? Hi. 6 or 7, 28, 29, 30, 31.
So tomorrow, back to one of my regular schools, and a really good topic. It's UK woodlands, which, to be quite honest, to UK kids, has got to be a far more important topic than tropical rainforests. It just has. If you can't get these guys interested in stuff on their doorstep, how are you going to get them interested in stuff at the other side of the world? They say charity begins at home, and of course, conservation must too. Looks like I'm in a fog. Let me clean my phone. So, interesting event for Kyle a couple of days ago. On his local village Facebook page, someone sort of put a shout out, tagged his name in fact 2 or 3 people did, because there was a red kite up on a power pole, electricity pole in the village. And Kyle said, yeah, well, it's electrocuted then, isn't it? And I said, no, you know, can you go up and save it or sort it out? It's caught up on there. And he said, what is it, sort of flapping around? Is it limp? Is it really rigid? I went, oh, it's rigid. It's electrocuted. It's frying. Anyway, this is how sad our population of humans, certainly in the Western world, has become, certainly Britain, when it comes to common sense. 3 separate adults actually put on that post, Kyle, can't you just get a long pole, you know, just so it doesn't look so bad, just go and poke it off. Yeah, there's a bird that's rigid with electricity, high voltage running through its body, actually cooking it. And these people think it's probably a good idea to yourself touch that electricity with a pole. It's only going to end one way, but it just shows how the lack of common sense has grown. Oh, Jack is calling, cup of tea. We'll resume in a second. Better go and get me a cup of tea. Anyway, the resounding thing was, please, Carl, just come and see if you can do something with it. So he said, go and have a look. So, not with a long pole. So Kyle goes over there, and by now it's blown off, which is often what happens. It's fell off the electricity pole, and it kind of had 2 choices of electricity, little mini pylons or poles, whatever you want to call them, to find it from the description he was given. And he said, I didn't need to sort of search around them. I could smell it because of the smell of fried chicken. If you are being cooked on a high voltage electric, you are being cooked. It's not just a case of you're being electrocuted. So he found the bird. What's interesting is obviously it meant we could have a good look at it. 1 or 2 of my colleagues and friends in this industry, that sounds a bit posh, doesn't it? In the world of falconry centres and things, work with red kites. We work with yellow-billed black kites here. But it's funny because I get asked every year, oh, you know, we get red kites over my garden. I've got a Yorkshire Terrier. Will it be all right? Red kites are not scavengers like the RSPB told us they all were. They are scavengers. They're piratical birds as well. And they eat loads of different animals. They eat a lot of small ground nesting birds. They eat lizards, frogs, voles, insects. They can lift an animal the size of a squirrel or even a baby rabbit that you see sitting on the roadside verges. But have a look at some of this footage. So have a look at first at the foot of this red kite against my finger. It can have a 5-foot wingspan. It is no eagle. This kite was really fat and well fed, and yet we didn't weigh it, but it was way less than 2 pounds in weight. My golden eagles, 8 to 10 pounds. The bald eagles, 8 to 10 pounds. To give you some idea, their wingspan isn't a lot longer than a kite's. The kite is all wing and tail. Huge wingspan, a tail feathers that are over a foot long. But it's actually a small bird with the most pathetic little tiny feet for a bird of prey. It's a pirate, a scavenger, and a killer of small animals, not a rapacious hunter like the bigger birds of prey, or rather the more powerful raptors like eagles and hawks are. So very interesting. Have a look at that. But it's quite interesting to note that certain bodies, certain charitable bird bodies, still, to make money and to get people to give them money, have to have a villain. And it might be egg collectors, it might be gamekeepers, it may be falconers, it may be the shooting fraternity. But none of those things are big killers of birds of any kind, not at all. Yes, if you're a pheasant, shooting fraternity is probably a big killer of your kind, but wild birds in general. Domestic cats in the UK, they kill around and about 250 small animals a year. Yeah, you heard that right. Around about 250 million small animals a year, which about a third, maybe less, but about a third are songbirds and small birds. So if you keep a cat, you kill way more. You're responsible for killing way more wildlife than any falconer in the country, more or less, I reckon. Unless your cat's rubbish at its job. And yeah, I know you feed your cat and it's well fed. At night, it's a different animal. It still goes hunting. Now, these electricity pylons and wind farms are killing hundreds, probably thousands and thousands of big raptors every year. Pylons, the tipple-out rotor arm, I think they hit 125 miles an hour. They look slow because they're big. they're moving at high speed. Soaring birds in this country and in other countries, vultures and eagles, in this country eagles and buzzards and kites, they head for something pushing up into the air, because that's going to create lift. As the wind hits that object, a bank of trees, whooshes up, it gives them lift to get going. Remember, our birds can't just work with thermals like some birds in hot countries. They work with lift from air movements and air currents caused by the wind. And they fly past and through the turbine, and they're lucky they miss it. They get no lift. It doesn't create lift. It doesn't create lift because of the way it spins. So they turn around and they head back to the turbines, and they actually head into them trying to find lift, thinking they're just tall objects breaking up into the sky. If you have an electricity pole with a grey box on, or ones like Kyle found in these pictures where the poles, the terminals, are close enough together for a bird's wings to touch to, especially if it's damp, they then earth themselves. They short out between the two and they fry. Birds of prey like nothing more than sitting on high open vantage points, dead trees, electricity poles. They're the same thing to a bird of prey. They kill dozens, hundreds, thousands of raptors every year. They can be insulated by electricity companies. The poles can be insulated so this doesn't happen, but they're not, because that costs money. And the great thing is, if you go and look under them, you won't find many dead birds that you can say they're killing our birds of prey. And that's simply because in this country, foxes, in other countries, coyotes and even wolves, they patrol wind farms and they patrol electricity power lines, because power lines kill big birds when they fly into them. Often they have reflectors on to deter swans from breaking wings off, and they also electrocute them. Big mammalian predators like foxes have learnt to make most of their nighttime routine, or many of them, going between power poles, picking up dead birds that are underneath. So they clean up the evidence, but believe you me, it kills a lot of our raptors, transporting our electricity. Never mind the falconers, never mind the shooting fraternity. None of those do. But if you want to be responsible for killing birds of prey, electricity is a huge one, and killing lots and lots of wildlife and lots of songbirds, whether you like it or not, the domestic cat is the thing, unfortunately, for those small birds. If you want to keep a cat, I don't care, that's up to you. I keep a dog and I keep birds of prey. But should cats be kept inside? Ooh, there's a debate. Enjoy the rest of the video. One thing to notice, have a look at the hole in the top of this bird's foot, and let's see, electricity's blown that hole in there. And also, not very nice, it also blew the wing off that touched the other side. So this is the sort of power we're talking about. It's not you holding an electric fence or sticking your finger in a plug socket. It literally blows parts of their bodies off in some instances like this. Here's the ironic thing. I know several falconers whose birds have sat on these and had holes blown in their sort of, what we'd think of their elbow, but their wrist, their foot, rigid on these lines. I know some that have just caught fire and burnt away, and I know others that have come off and they've survived and they've actually healed and gone on to fly. It shows how tough some of these birds of prey actually are. If you love your reptiles like I do, check out the recent video. I quite like it. It's a look at all the reptiles I've got here and some amphibians that are currently brumating or hibernating through the winter. So we've checked on those, and there's some really unusual and rare species in there. So check out that if the reptiles your thing. What can I tell you about reptiles this week? I think the main thing that I've been thinking about my reptile room, the indoor, we've got outdoor stuff coming online, all sorts, but the indoor tropical room is quite utilitarian. A lot of the enclosures, I have to get animals out, not daily, but sort of daily, and to take to schools for education. So it's quite utilitarian, where I don't have to chase animals around, which just makes them nervous, or sort of destroy their habitat to find them hiding in there, asleep or something. So a lot of the hides are plastic boxes, which, to be honest, I think the snakes prefer than maybe a bit of bark, because a load of bark's natural. A black box with a little hole in there can feel really snug in there, and I'll certainly be using those for the egg-laying females for sure. But I think we're going to gradually, over the next year or so, and I'll show you as it goes on, I think we're going to start making each enclosure more naturalistic, so we can film or photo some of the animals in there as time goes on, and they look nice and they look more naturalistic. So where we've got wood melamine backgrounds on a 2-foot high viv, perhaps we'll make some lovely backgrounds on there and sculpt them, and sides, just to give it that much more naturalistic flavour, which is going to be more enjoyable for me to look at. It's going to be more enjoyable for you to look at. It's possibly going to offer the animals a bit more of a third dimension of crawling at the back or something like that, where they can use and increase their active area. But really, mostly for aesthetic reasons. And some of them, it'll enable me possibly to do a bit more bioactive setups, which again, need much less maintenance, but create a really healthy ecosystem. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, please like and subscribe, drop me a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.